Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing today? Baby, it is day 5 of the Diddy trial, and things are hitting up. First of all, what is going on? Diddy people already hit Judge Submarinian with the okey doke, asked to move to Friday, brought up a thing, and now the jury selection is moved to Monday. The trial is officially starting late. They are letting Judge Submarinian know that they run that courtroom. Baby, he needs to get up on the legal finesse. But more importantly, remember this defense strategy that y'all said I was crazy about? And I told y'all 2 months ago that my sources told me that Diddy's team was going to try to paint Cassie as the aggressor. Cassie is the one that wanted the freak offs. Cassie is the one that used Diddy's love for her to literally twist it into this sick thing, and that everything Diddy did was because of Cassie. Y'all said I was crazy. Baby, Diddy's team just dropped the biggest bombshell we can talk about. This is directly from, of course, Diddy's unofficial spokespersons, TMZ. The defense lawyers say that Diddy traded blows with Cassie and that both were abusive. This is the first line, and they're gonna get 1 million people that need a penny to come up and be like, yeah, I saw Cassie Diddy too. Let's get into this, and then we're going to get into the prosecution pushback, because I have talked to sources, and they said that as much as Diddy thinks they got this, they really don't have a leg to stand on. Y'all, this is actually disgusting. The fact that in 2025, there are people that believe that if you're in an abusive relationship, you can only be a true victim if you just lay on the floor and take it. Cassie was a bu-bu? All right, if this is true, then where's all the other people Cassie was abusive to? Where's Kid Cudi saying that Cassie had a problem laying hands and feet on people? Where's Michael B. Jordan? Where's Alex? Is Alex a victim of DV? That's Cassie's current husband. If you're trying to say that Cassie was also going toe-to-toe, right? Where's all the victims of her abu-bu? Or was Cassie really just defending herself and fighting back at someone that would literally treat her like a rag doll? Anyway, let's get into, unlike Diddy, who has a long thing. Anyway, let's get into this. They said Diddy's defense team is leaning in hard that Diddy was abu-bu toward Cassie. But they're also saying Cassie was no angel either, because she allegedly got violent with him too. Someone that broke your face open, someone that laid hands and feet on you, someone that literally beat you so bad that you literally have irreparable, forever injuries to your brain? Okay, is this really? Of course, this is what Diddy wants to go with. They said that day 5 of the Diddy trial saw the prosecutor, Emily Ann Johnson, and Diddy attorney Mark Agnifilo, Yana, have a very interesting exchange with Judge Aaron Submarinian in the New York City federal courtroom. It kicked off with the U.S. attorney telling Judge Aaron that Cassie, that's who we believe is victim 1, will not be cross-examined about certain medical issues. The judge then said if prosecutors open the door on the rest of the issues, defense can walk through it and cross-examine the witness. That's what Mark Agnifilo said. Yana, the defense is going to take the position that there was mutual violence in the relationship, noting hitting on both sides, DV and domestic violence. He added, we're absolutely going to admit to DV. But at what point does it become coercive? Again, I told y'all 2 months ago that Mark Agnifilo's team is going to start the disgusting narrative that Diddy was a victim of Cassie's abuse. A woman that all her apartments were monitored, her phone calls were monitored, according to what the sources are saying. She had no financial independence outside of Diddy. She had to do everything Diddy said. You're trying to tell us that she was now calling the shots and she was putting a whoop ass on him, even though it's not just Cassie though, because all of Diddy's victims got the we're squaring up. It's not just that. Diddy put his hands and feet on everyone. He has a history of violence, and you're trying to say that it was mutual? Listen, Judge Submarinian then looked at Mark Agnifilo and said, I want to clarify your remarks. Are you arguing that they are just as violent? Even the judge was like, wait, hold on. Mark Agnifilo looked at Judge dead in his face and said, yes, Yana, we're saying it's relevant. Now listen, the U.S. Attorney's Office said that she would submit a letter to the court on this topic, going on to say she planned to offer 2 cell phone videos and corrected CNN footage of the infamous 2016 beating that Diddy gave Cassie in Intercontinental Hotel. Now, let me just say this, right? Stable Genius actually said, Cassie is heavily pregnant. It's going to be a bad look if the defense attorney accuses her of anything at trial, okay? Now, another person who's probably a Diddy bot jumped in and said, so does that mean they can't question her or counter that she is saying because she's pregnant? She's not perfect, and he's certainly not either. She wants to tell her story, then we should hear from both people involved. She also was a part of the shenanigans for 10 years until she fell for her trainer. Listen, Crystal jumped in and said, you mean fighting back against her abuser? Another person said, fighting back or hitting, it's all domestic violence. Okay, first of all, I'm sick of these incels and these domestic violence apologists. Fighting back, there is even legally that if somebody tries to hit you, if you hit them back, they cannot sue you for assault. It's self-defense. But now in domestic violence, it's all the same. If your abuser is stomping you out, you can't do anything. It is ridiculous. On top of that, I do think it is this whole narrative, people being like, Cassie's not perfect. How do you know? How do you know? Because you're going by, there is solid evidence against Diddy. And you are somehow in your mind looking for an excuse that it was justified? What type of world are we living in? On top of this, right? Listen, Little Street Sense says, let me get this right. Diddy hit Cassie, and she's supposed to take it even with the video. His defense is floundering, saying it was edited. At which point is she hitting him while he's dragging her, kicking her, keeping her from leaving the premises, which is in itself an abduction and false imprisonment? What mental gymnastics must this defense be building up? Cirque du Soleil level stuff. Let's also not forget when he dragged her back, he was dragging her back to a freak-off. A freak-off with a sex worker who is being alleged to testify. A freak-off with a sex worker that thinks that Cassie was also a mastermind. Like, at what point does it come just like, are you serious? Cassie was super young. Diddy was double her age. Anyway, listen, Oopsie said both sides in an adversarial legal system can be total garbage. This is not what is being decided upon. Pet88 said, sure. These men think a woman defending herself is abuse. THR2491 said, and it's important we start getting into these comments because you're going to start to see the Diddy bots and trolls. I really do think that Diddy is going to start paying the same way Justin Baldini and Blake Lively did, paying people to actually comment in their favor, okay? Somebody said, no, sir, I believe two people in a relationship causing harm to one another is DV. Do you want to be in a relationship with someone that abuses you for over a decade? Or better yet, you want to be in a relationship with someone you have to defend yourself from? Sounds horrible and not very fun to me, but continue to defend the victim and make her actions and decisions okay. Starbright said, so self-defense is bad. Got it. Alta's Dark said, that's a very bad move for anyone to shame a DV victim of fighting with someone that could clearly beat her to death and almost did. Cassie is pretty tiny, if I remember correctly, so she wouldn't have done too much damage to that animal. Jade Forlin said, what does size have to do with anything? Small and tiny people can also be violent, especially when they're angry as well as anyone else. Again, Kylie Jenner's real face said there's a big difference between fighting and fighting back. Okay. Reniki says, was she afraid to leave him? 10 years is a long time. Are y'all dumb? Diddy put a bomb in Kid Cudi's car. And y'all are really trying to convince us that this woman had no reason to fear leaving him? He was violent toward her, violent toward everybody, dragged her back plenty of times. And you are now trying to make us believe that it was all fun and games. And again, for anybody saying this was just for a payout, Cassie already got a payout for Diddy. She didn't have to go to the U.S. attorneys. She didn't have to testify. I mean, she did, but you get what I'm saying. She didn't have to go say, she already got a payoff for Diddy. So she got the payoff from Diddy, and Diddy can't get that money back. Why now? Where's this whole thing? She just wants the bag. Why else would she be lying? Unless she's telling the truth. And there's a lot of abusers in these comments that want to believe that as long as somebody raises a hand to them, it's okay to fight back. Anyway, you guys, let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.